Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new. Today I'm joined by Django because I wanted to give a quick update on how he's been doing since it's been a few months where my last video featured him. But yeah, I just wanted to show him how he's doing. He's doing great. He's gained a lot of weight, but not an unhealthy amount, a good healthy amount of weight, because he was a little bit skinny when he came to me. And he is actually most likely a she, but I still haven't gotten used to that. Thanks to your help on my last video, a lot of you responded to my plea for help as to knowing what gender he/she is, and you really came through and helped me out, and I'm really grateful for that. But yeah, this is Django. She's doing great and she's getting really thick. She shed for the first time that she's been with me, and that was great. It shows that she's healthy and still growing. For those of you that haven't watched my last video, I have no clue how old she is, but since she's been with me, it's almost been a year, and she's doing great. On today's video though, we are not going to talk about Uromastics. We are actually going to talk about tortoises and how to check if your tortoise is healthy. So without further ado, let's get into that. Okay, so onto the video. For a tortoise health check, you usually want to check a couple things. So I'm going to go through all of those steps and tell you how to check if they are healthy. So first things first is eating. They should eat at least once a day. If they are outdoors and have access to grass or other plants, then they should be grazing throughout the day or most of the day. If not, it could be because they are too cold or ill. So if your tortoise suddenly stops eating, you should definitely check if they have the right temperature range. This varies a lot between species. For a sulcata, it's a lot hotter than a Hermann's, for example, because the sulcata comes from the desert. So you should definitely do your research and check this. If they are in fact in the temperature range that is recommended for the species, then it could be a sign of illness, and you should definitely check that out with your veterinarian. Next is drinking. You will most likely rarely see them drink. If you do see them drinking, that's great. If you don't and you want to make sure that they are hydrated, you can give them some soaks weekly. For this, you will just have to put them in a shallow lukewarm water container, or you can even do this in your bathroom if you want. Leave them for 15 minutes or until they poop, which basically means that their bowels are in good health and everything is going well inside their stomachs and intestines. So it's a great sign if they do poop when you are giving them a bath. Even if you don't see them drinking, you should always provide a shallow dish with water. The shallow part is very important because if it's too deep, tortoises cannot swim and will not be able to get out of it. So you definitely need a shallow dish. A good dish for this, and it's the dish that I use as well, is a terracotta saucer for the plants that you usually find in garden stores. Next up is the eyes. The eyes should always be bright and clear. There should be absolutely no discharge. They should not have their eyelids swollen. It should be perfectly clear without any discharge, as I said before. They should also be able to close them and open them without struggle. If their eyelids are puffy or just weird looking, it could be a sign of illness, so you definitely want to check that out. Next up is the nostrils. So the nostrils, or the Nares, whatever you want to call it, should always be clear and open without any blockage or discharge. If they have some kind of blockage, try to remove it with a damp, warm cloth if they let you. Sometimes they won't let you. Other than that, if it doesn't have anything, then you're good to go. If it does have discharge though, it could be a symptom of respiratory infection, which is not good at all, and you definitely need to check that out and treat it with your veterinarian. The beak or mouth is another important topic. All of these are. You should check to see that it's not overgrown. To check this, you basically look at the beak, and if you see that the top part of the beak is longer or it hangs over the bottom one, it means that it's too long and you need to either change their diet, the way that you feed them, or just go to the vet and trim their beak. Things that you can do to avoid an overgrown beak is feed them in a terracotta plant saucer, because this helps when they are eating. They scrape their beaks on the bottom of the dish, and it usually wears it down. You can also provide cuttlefish bone, which is high in calcium, and it's also good for them to scrape their beak and also trim it. Avoid feeding very soft foods. There also should be no discharge or any bubbles coming out of their mouth. That could mean a respiratory problem, so you definitely should take them to the vet if that is the case. Next, we have the tongue. Their tongue should be bright and pink. If it's weird looking and a little bit yellow, it could mean some organ failure, so you should definitely take them to the vet if it has a weird coloration. To check this, you can watch them eat. They usually stick their tongues out when they are eating. You can give them a really nice treat that they like to see it more closely, but it's usually pretty easy to see. The ears. So in case you don't know where the ears are, they are just right behind their eyes. They don't have ear holes. It's just almost like their eardrum was on the outside and not inside. So it's just a scale that is very big and flat that lays against their head. Their ears should have no lumps or weird swellings. If they do, you should definitely go to the vet again and check for any illness. Another thing to check for is breathing. If a tortoise is breathing normal, you should see that when they breathe, they move their limbs, mostly their front legs and the head up and down, and that's because they don't really have a diaphragm, and this is why it's dangerous for them to be on their backs, because they don't have a diaphragm and they can't breathe properly, and all the organs will be pushing down on the lungs. Their throat should also swell, almost like a frog, and that's because they are breathing. That's how they breathe. When they are breathing, it should be silent. There should be no weird sounds coming out from it, no coughing, wheezing, anything like that. If you do hear some sounds like whistling and wheezing, you should definitely take it to the vet and check out for potential illnesses. Next up is their limbs. They should be walking with all four legs. They should not be limping or dragging any of their legs behind. If this does happen, it could be caused by an external injury, like a wound, an open wound, or a scratch or something like that that's really causing him pain. If there is no external wound and it's still limping or dragging their legs, it could be an internal problem. This happened with one of my tortoises a while back. He had a bladder stone and one of the symptoms was limping, and this is a very urgent matter, so you should not let this drag on. It usually means that they are really not doing good when they start limping. Normal walking implies lifting their shells completely off the ground. They should not be dragging their shell anywhere. It usually stays lifted. The legs should be supporting the body. They should be directly underneath the shell. Nothing like to the sides. If they're walking a little bit to the side, that could be something going on there. That could be a deformity as well. So you need to check that out. Next up is nails. To avoid overgrowth on the nails, you should feed them on a slate or on a terracotta plant saucer, as I mentioned before. You can also provide gravel and stones and other objects that they can wear down their nails if they are in fact overgrown. Their foot, instead of being like this and the nails short as well, the foot will lay like this with the nails hanging out. So imagine that this is the floor, this is the foot, and the nails are doing this. It shouldn't be like that. It should be like flat. If they are overgrown, you can trim them by taking them to the vet. They usually always teach you how to do it. If they don't, you can ask for help and they will teach you how to trim your tortoise's nails. I personally trim my own tortoise's nails. It's pretty easy. You just have to watch out for the blood supply that goes to the nail and make sure that you don't cut too short, because they could bleed and it could be hurtful. Next up, we have the shell. The shell should be smooth, no damage like lifted or broken scutes, and the scutes are the little pattern that they have on their back. There should be no dents and no shell rot. So shell rot is what happens when you keep your tortoises in a very humid environment. You will start to see white spots. That usually mean it's rotting, and you should definitely change your husbandry if that's the case. You can check the tortoise's shell by gently squeezing it to see if it's not soft. What you want is a very hard tortoise shell. If it is soft, it's most likely a dietary problem. They could have metabolic bone disease. To fix this, you need to change their diet. Always research what species you have before committing to a strict diet. To help with this, you can also give them some supplements like calcium powder that you can find on a reptile store. It's very common. Cuttlefish, as I mentioned before, is also great not only for trimming their beaks, but it's a great source of calcium, and it really helps them grow their shell evenly and smoothly. If you do not have a UVB lamp, this could also be a problem, and it could be the cause of your shell's deformity. They need UVB to process calcium. If they don't, their shell will not be strong and it will just come out weird looking and deformed. Never attach anything on their shell. Don't paint on it, don't decorate it. Leave it as it is. Definitely don't apply any oils chemicals or anything like that. If you want to wash your tortoise or anything, just warm water is good to go. They do not need anything else. And don't forget to always check both the top shell and the plastron, which is the bottom half of the shell. So this right here is Watson. It was my tortoise, and I preserved his shell so that I could keep him, and this is a great example to show what I'm talking about. So scutes are these sections right here that you have across their shell. So these should be nice and smooth and uniform. This is a good example. It has a little bit of pyramiding, but it's very slight. As you can see, it's smooth. It's nice. The plastron is the underside of the shell. So as you can see, this one is a little bit weird looking. That's because he was operated. This was a tortoise that I mentioned that had bladder stones. He went through surgery, and you can see that he even has the scar from that, like these two little squares. And this, when he got it, were closed and were close to each other, but since he's grown, they've been spread apart, which is a great example of how they grow, and it's kind of cool to see. But yeah, you should always check both the bottom and the top of their shells to make sure that they are not squishy and very hard, because this is their main source of protection. Next up is feces. A good time to check on their feces is when you give them a soak. They usually poop when they are being soaked because the water stimulates their bowel movements. The poop should be solid and a nice brown/greenish color. If it's bloody or anything, it's an immediate urgent trip to the vet. It should not have any blood on it. That's a very big sign of illness. There should be no weird spots or spaghetti-like larvae. If that does happen, they have a parasite infection, and you should definitely warm them. There should be absolutely no straining when they are pooping. When they poop, they do kind of go back into their shells. That's their way of pushing. But if they are doing that and they're either really swollen and nothing is coming out, that could be a sign of impaction or a blockage, and you should definitely get that checked out. The cloaca should be clear and without any weird discharge. Next up is their pee. So when they pee, it usually comes out a clear water-like liquid. It can sometimes come with, not always, but some urates, which should look like a white toothpaste kind of thing. This is healthy if they do have urates. If they don't, it's also normal. Sometimes it just doesn't happen. But if they do expel urates and it's powdery and a weird consistency, not the toothpaste that you want to see, it could be a sign of bladder problems. This happened again with my tortoise that had bladder stones. He had to get surgery, so you should definitely get this checked out. It could also mean dehydration, so you should definitely check if they have water available to them and soak them more often if you are and this is still happening. If you weigh your tortoises regularly, you should watch out for any weird weight gain or loss. This could mean an illness, so you should definitely check that out. In terms of behaviors, they usually have a pretty strict routine. They will usually spend most of their time hiding. They will come out to eat, get a drink, bask, and sleep. That's pretty much their routine. So they will spend most of their time hiding, since they are prey animals, so don't be concerned about this if they are always hiding. But if they don't come out for anything at all and they are just sleeping the whole day, that could be an issue because that's not normal. They also thermoregulate, so they should be able to walk from one side of the enclosure to the other. You should always have a warm spot and a colder, not cold spot or side. Avoid picking them up and moving them around. This could disrupt their temperature regulation. They usually sleep all night long, just like us, and are active during the day. If they spend their whole day basking or their whole day hiding, it could be because of the temperature that you're providing, that it is not correct. If it's too hot, they will hide constantly. If it's too cold, they will always seek out warmth. So that's pretty much it for this video. I really hope this was helpful in some way, and if you do have any video requests that you would like me to do, leave them down below in the comment section. I've also just released some new merch. If you want to check that out, go to the link down below. I've made some awesome new designs that I'm really proud of, and I really hope you enjoy them too. And yeah, I'll see you guys when I see you. I'll try to make more videos for you guys because I do enjoy making them, but sometimes I'm just busy and life is a little bit chaotic. So thank you for always checking up on me. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!